Welcome to the 1000 GM Player Profiles. I'm here with an exceptional player, content creator, and overall very amazing person. I am Kostya Obtained. Welcome to the show. How do you feel today, Kostya?
Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you. We're longtime friends, so it's great,
Yeah,
great to be here
yeah.
and have a chance to talk. Yeah,
It's amazing that we can meet on Zoom like this. You're in San Francisco or the Bay Area, that's correct?
that's right. Mountain View, yeah, up in the
Yeah.
Bay.
So Mountain View in the Bay. Yeah, we've known each other for over a decade. So in case anybody wants to know, that's why we're so friendly. But thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I want to start today with a little bit about 1000 GM and your experience playing in the tournaments. You've already played in a few events. How many events have you played so far?
Two, I played in an IM round or GM round robin and a Swiss event.
Okay, great. And were they both in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay, so you came back to the Los Angeles. Did you stay at the hotel or did you stay at your parents' house?
Actually, I stayed at the hotel because it was going to be a bit of a commute from my folks' place.
Right. Okay. Okay. Great. And what were the conditions like? Were they great conditions? Was it up to the standard of normal events like this?
Yeah, no, it was really good. I would say I liked the Hilton hotel better than the first one.
Hmm.
But I mean, the tournament conditions, like where we actually were playing, they were great throughout. It was very, it's like I really love it. I really appreciate it as a American Open chess player when you show up to the room and there's like boards and clocks set up, and like, oh, okay, so this is the chess room. This is where I'm playing. And you just go to your table and you can actually like just play the game. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah, 1000 GM is changing the culture there. What's the experience in some other events? They just don't have boards, or
It depends. I think a lot of the like kind of private events are usually nicely set up and they provide boards and clocks and stuff.
yeah.
But like some of the bigger open tournaments, it's just like too many players, so they don't really provide much unless you're like on the very, very, top boards.
Right, right. And let's talk about the mission of 1000 GM. How do you see the mission of 1000 GM to create, 1000 Grandmasters in the United States and this ecosystem to produce this amount of talent and, to raise them up to become strong players? What do you think that will have? What kind of impact will that have on the chess community?
Yeah, I mean it's very cool. Honestly, like when I first heard about it, it just sounded like a little like too good to be true. If you know what I mean. 'Cause it was just like because of course the norm events were free entry for all the players, which is extremely rare. Usually, it's like the entry fee is one of the most expensive parts of like a norm round robin event. The Swiss was also free entry, um, and I mean, yeah, like this. So this mission to just run a bunch of tournaments for players to be able to play in. I mean, really makes it a lot of, it certainly makes it a lot easier for me to play in these events, right? Because I don't, okay, personally, I don't have to travel that far to Los Angeles. I'm from California, but apart from that, I mean, like not having to pay entry fee, having good conditions, knowing the tournament's gonna like um, run regularly, like the fact that they're planning these for every month is also very cool. 'Cause it's very hard to do. You have to find the players. You always have to pay the players. I mean, I think the biggest drawback is just the financial aspect, of course, of just kind of funding all these events, which I think is the reason that this doesn't really happen too often. But if the mission succeeds, then I mean, it's just super cool. There's obviously like a ton of talented players in the U.S. There's lots of these like myself, like journeyman norm seekers that have been around for a while. But there's also like tons and tons of kids that are trying to get their norms. And yeah, if the mission like proceeds as kind of uh, planned or expected, then it's very, very exciting for the American chess scene.
Yeah, yeah, and you were a norm provider for the IM event, correct? And then
Oh
I
no,
get.
actually no, I didn't play any of the IM events.
Oh, you played the GM event.
That's
Oh,
right.
so you were still a norm seeker there then.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, great. So what have you spent generally obtaining your norms? Can you estimate how much you've spent?
Oh boy, I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to estimate, but you can imagine like for every tournament that you travel to, it's like a flight ticket, it's a hotel, it's possibly an entry fee depending on the tournament. Um, so yeah, on average, I mean, if I'm traveling to like a US tournament, it could be maybe like 800 to $1,000 per event.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then if I'm traveling to Europe, it's going to be um, huge flight cost. The events themselves aren't as expensive, like the entry fees there and the hotels there, I think are a little bit cheaper, but it's still like a ton of travel. So what I've done in the past, I try to like do 2 or 3 tournaments in a row, so I'm not like spending heavily on like just like flying back and forth. But yeah, I mean, definitely it's just been like thousands and thousands of dollars for me, like that I've spent on just playing tournaments,
Have you
not to
obtained?
mention like
Have you?
coaching or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Coaching. That's a good point. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'm actually
Mhm.
interested in digging in there. But have you obtained any GM norms yet?
No norms.
Okay. How many events have you played?
It hasn't been a ton.
Mhm.
Like I played a lot of IM norm events before I ended up getting any IM norms, but for GM norm events, if you don't count like like Chicago Open is a GM norm event because it's just like a big open tournament. If you only count like the round robins and stuff like that, I think I've only played maybe like six to 10
Okay.
total.
That's because of the pandemic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I just haven't just haven't played a lot of the norm round robins. But also in general, I think for the last even before the pandemic, I think generally I was playing more open events.
Yeah.
Just because the round robins were rare and they're also expensive. Like you have to pay like, at least $400 for the entry fee, right? And then fly there and so on.
Okay, I see the cost prohibitive nature. How many tournaments did it take to get your IM norm?
Oh, it was a lot. I mean, it was a couple of years of well, running the norm events with Metro Chess, as you all know.
That's
Uh,
right.
it's funny when you said norm provider, that's what I thought you meant originally, like
Oh yeah.
actually writing these norm events, which is I
Yeah.
know from personal experiences, tons of work and not super rewarding, honestly. Like the norm seekers are very appreciative. Like I'm super appreciative of these events, right? But for everyone else, it's just like, yeah, it's cool, the fans they watch, but yeah, it's not a ton of reward in doing these events. But yeah, I probably played like maybe 30 or 40.
Oh wow.
Maybe that's a lot. Yeah, maybe not that much.
I mean, that's still
Because
tens.
okay, I guess I shouldn't be counting like the open events. Maybe like 20 or so round robins.
Yeah, and that's like tens of thousands of dollars then, right?
Well, a lot of those were in LA where I was
Oh,
living.
okay,
So
okay, okay.
so yeah, that was a big incentive to run those events to get
So a
yeah.
little bit of background for the audience. Metropolitan Chess used to run IM and GM norm events here in Los Angeles, but it's been almost a decade, right?
Yeah,
Eight 8 years, something
tournaments were
like that.
stopped yeah, many years ago. So yeah, by
Yeah,
this point it's long gone.
yeah. And do you obtained your IM norms in those round robins, or did you obtain any in open events?
Yeah, I don't think I had any actually in
Oh, okay.
but they were a great experience. I felt
Right.
like I mean, tons. It was just great to play against strong players, on a regular basis. I ended up getting two of them in St. Louis, one at the Spice Cup, which was kind of a similar to like the Super Swiss event
Right,
that
right.
1,000 Jam did. I got one at the North American Open, which was a big open event in Vegas, in the open section, and then I got the third norm at the St. Louis Chess Club in one of their norm round robins.
Okay, okay, great. So, so with these events, and the ability to try to gain these norms, I mean, there's some rumor down the pipeline that they'll be having them in the Bay Area, because
Hmm.
there might be a nice funder up there, that will donate some money to have them in your neighborhood. How will that impact your career if you're able to obtain GM titles without even traveling out of state?
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, that would be amazing if they ran them here. We had a couple of Norm events from this other organization, like Mission 360, that was doing a few. And those are really well run as well. Also, I should say, like I just mentioned, the St. Louis Chess Club, they do some great Norm events too. But okay, they do a ton of events, so they only do a few a year. It's not like this like monthly thing that
Right, right.
is going to be super just fantastic. So if the dream would be for there to be monthly events, literally in my backyard here in the Bay Area that I could just go and play every time. That would be amazing. I mean, because then I wouldn't have to travel for these events. I would just have like regular opponents. It really actually it takes a lot of the stress as well because one of the issues for me is like when you travel to a big event, it's just like gets hyped up so much in your mind, and you've been thinking about it for weeks, and it's like expensive, so like, oh, this is the big tournament, I have to perform well, and then if it doesn't go well, it's like such a bummer, 'cause it's like, oh man, but that makes it hard on the chess. Like when you're playing, it's better not to have that pressure, I think, or
Yeah.
those distractions. You just kind of want to just show up and play your game, and if you play well, you'll do well, and great. If not, it's okay. But yeah, it's always nice when you get to play in more of a like a relaxed environment.
Yeah, any sort of distraction can affect your play, so
Mhm.
that will be helpful. Okay, let's end this segment with the hard question. And this I've asked all the players, and I want to get your input on it. How, or sorry, is there any discrimination against financially underprivileged players toward financially privileged players? Meaning, do they have better access to these events, and will they, people with more money be able to obtain more GM norms, IM norms, and become GMs and IMs?
Yeah, I've thought about this a bit. I feel like there definitely is like a financial disparity um, in the chess world, and it definitely affects players, especially when they're growing up. You're able to travel to a lot of events, and I think the case is definitely more so in the U.S. perhaps than in other countries. I'm not sure, but here in the U.S., it's like tournaments are expensive, and especially coaches are expensive and classes. So kids that come from rich families, of course, or just financially stable families that are able to have like chess coaches and be able to
Mm-hmm.
travel to tournaments, they definitely have, I think, a huge advantage over kids that are not able to afford private coaching or to afford to travel. And yeah, it's also a thing for players from other countries as well that aren't able to like travel to Europe, for instance, and play in a lot of these open events. And it's often been noted that like if a player doesn't get these opportunities when they're growing up, then it really kind of stunts their potential. I think there's stories as well of like players from the Soviet Union who were kind of limited because they just weren't even allowed to travel. It wasn't even a question of financial struggle. It's just like they weren't even allowed to travel outside the borders and play against a wide variety of players. So it's definitely a thing that exists in chess. I'm sure in other sports as well. I don't know exactly like how to fix it. The nice thing is that in chess, talent and hard work definitely takes you a very far way. So I never thought it was, necessary to have like a private coach and um, be able to afford all these tournaments in order to actually succeed as a chess player. I think if someone is motivated and hardworking enough, they can essentially find all the resources free online, right? So it's like
Hey,
and of course the real struggle of chess improvement is learning to do the hard work
hey,
uh, yourself. Yeah, so in a way, I think sometimes it can even kind of balance out because if you're just kind of handed everything, then you don't really learn to work hard for stuff, right? So it's like uh, I think that can definitely affect one's chess as well. But yeah, it's definitely a thing I think that can't really be ignored forever. But oh boy, yeah, I don't have any great solutions for it.
and then also something that I just thought of, that I haven't really asked any players of your caliber. does creating that ecosystem provide more financial incentives for professional players like you, right? Like IMs and GMs, I mean, they have to coach, right? Coaching is an essential part of it, and of course, the community needs coaches. But I think a lot of players would rather be playing all the time, right? If we're able to create leagues and sorry, my dog's very excited in the background.
No.
If we're able to create leagues like this, what kind of opportunities does it provide for players like you?
Yeah, I mean, that's another part of it, right? Is that there's definitely not enough money for chess professionals to kind of sustain themselves on just playing chess, unless they're like in the top 50 or something. Everyone else basically needs some other kind of chess work in order to be a chess professional. Which, yeah, for me and many others means teaching, or at this point, it's just like making content, making courses. But yeah, so the thing is, it's like if that wasn't available, then none of us would be able to stay in the chess world. We'd all have to go find like real jobs and try to earn money that way. And
Right.
that means that the chess world would just kind of collapse, right? Because then it would just be like the top players that are playing, and then no one else really has like time or money to play. So yeah, it has to kind of sustain itself in a way. So it's very important for me that people are always, interested in lessons and looking to buy courses and stuff, because that's
Yeah.
obviously how I make a lot of my income. But okay, I mean, I think chess provides some value as well. Hopefully, people enjoy watching chess and playing chess, and they feel good when they actually play the game. And so that's kind of what it's all about.